Hey guys, how's it going? Today I thought I'd talk about unleashing the creativity inside of you as it relates to your mood disorder. Now, a lot of you are going to assume and think creativity is only associated with artists. Contrary to popular belief, some of the most well documented and most brilliant minds in history had or most likely had a mood disorder. And simply put, they thought different. And as a result of that, they were able to solve problems and come up with things in creative ways that most quote normal people could not. So a lot of us, though, that's all great and all. I mean, you're like, okay, sweet. So Van Gogh, right? Or Winston Churchill. He suffered from depression. You know, that's the famous prime minister from Great Britain during World War II. Beethoven. Robert Downey Jr. The list goes on and on. You're like, I'm not like those people. Are you kidding me? I'm just a normal person just trying to get through the day. And I agree. I think that, you know, for most of us, we're probably not going to reach those kinds of heights that those individuals have in personally or professionally. But, big but, I would argue, and I know this to be true for myself, I grew up always knowing I was a misfit. I'd take these personality tests, never could peg me. You know, one time I'd take it, I was one thing, another time take it, and it was another thing. I liked a lot of different things. I had interests, I had skills in different areas. I approached things differently. So it wasn't always viewed as an advantage, I guess. It was more that I didn't fit in. But as I've gone through my life and I've seen, one of the things I started to notice more recently is the greatest aspects of my intelligence are entirely fueled by my mood disorders. Entirely. I know this. I know this to be true. I got some professional feedback from a guy who I respect greatly, who's 20 years my senior, and he happens to have a person, actually a sister, who suffers from acute, very, very, challenging bipolar 1, which is a lot more intense. And for those that are watching, I sympathize because it's very challenging. But he said to me, and he says, "You realize that you don't even know what you're capable of, Jay." And I have a hard time accepting compliments, and I'm like, well, thanks. I don't know what that means. And he went on to say, you think differently. You problem solve. You need to refine and be self-aware of how your mind works when you're trying to work on things. So for some of us that are rapid cyclers, some of us that are anxious, some of them that have ADHD, some of us that just, completely hard to focus, different things, whatnot. I talked about the power of endurance, but I'm talking about now the power of, your creative mind thinking and learning how to use your brain to think differently. It's not easy. I'm still working on this. But I know that if I can channel that energy, that discomfort, that frustration, whatever it is, into a focused, razor sharp task, I can absolutely knock it out of the park. And I never, ever associated my issues with that success. And once I realized that, I'm like, holy cow. You know, for as much as this illness sucks, and my mood disorders suck, you know, we all know that I've got 4 mood disorder diagnoses. I couldn't comprehend how that could be used to my advantage. But I'm realizing that I have a much greater bandwidth. I can tackle a lot more in a shorter amount of time. When I was in college, and I happened to be a fine arts major. I'm an art major, so I'm more of the artist guy, but I like technology. I'm a gadgety guy. I'm a fix-it guy. I like to tinker with things. I love challenging things where it's hard to come up with a solution. I love that journey of trying to solve that problem. I just think it's awesome because everybody gets stumped, and I'm like, hey, you know what? There is a solution. Let's look for this. Let's Google it. Let's go this. Let's go this. And I just assumed everybody did that. But they don't. That's the thing. So many of these people do not operate and look at challenges they face the way that we do. And the unfortunate thing is the enemy brings us down into the realms of untruth, and we believe that we're not capable of these things, which is a crock of crap. It's a crop of BS. It's not true. So as I started to witness some of this stuff in college, you know, I'd get a painting done. Yeah. 6 hours sooner than my people, you know, that were with me. I'm like, oh gosh, am I like rushing, or am I doing okay? I mean, I never ever thought that, hey, maybe, just maybe this affliction, this, you know, for some of us it seems like a death sentence. Maybe there's parts of this, as we pick it apart and peel back the layers, that there are things that allows us to do that other people can't. That is truth. The challenge for you is to prayerfully find those things. I'm different than you guys. You know, the way that God has revealed some of these, you know, mood disorder advantages is going to be different than what you receive and whatnot. So we're all different. And it doesn't take away from the challenges. Heck no. I mean, it doesn't take away from the massive depression and the cellar and the anxiety and the despair and the anguish that we feel. I mean, that doesn't take that away. But what it does do is it shows that we are capable of more than we think. We are capable of much more than we think. That's what I want to say. We're capable of so much more. So much more. And what's sad is the enemy wants to drive us down to believe otherwise. That we are worthless. That we're a pile of crap. That we're not capable of anything. We're not even functioning. You know, I remember that at one point where I literally went to my wife and said, I don't even know if I can work. I don't even know if I can even hold a job. And I'm sure others of you have felt that way. I got to the point where I couldn't write very well. My grammar was so bad, still is. My grammar sucks. I got so I couldn't think. I couldn't talk. I get it. I do. I get how this stuff can absolutely amputate the hope and the spirit that you have about just living your life. But I would challenge you, like I already said, to prayerfully seek how your mind is different. And don't just look at the bad. We got to deal with that. We know that. It is what it is. My counselor once told me, Jay, it's an inconvenience. Get over it. Get over it. Stop dwelling on the fact that you have this issue. It's there. Got it. We're going to deal with it. Okay? Easier said than done. But that's her direct words to me. Went right to the inner workings of my soul. And it began the process of me trying to see what else is there? If there's that garbage, there's got to be more. There's got to be some good here. So my prayer for you guys after this, I haven't done this before, is to say a prayer that God would reveal to you the aspects of how you think in such a different, unique way that you've never necessarily thought about, that can give you skills and attributes and possibly opportunities that you never thought you would have, because you are different. And that's okay. We're misfits. That's fine. That's the stigma. That's what we're fighting, guys. I don't give a crap anymore about what people think. And the second I started doing that is the moment I started to feel some peace. And not soon thereafter is when I started this blog. Because I want all of you to feel the same thing I do, which is, yes, it sucks. I mean, I had crippling anxiety just the other day. I was a pile of crap. I was totally non-functional. But I know that I'm not defined by that, and that does not prevent me from greatness, from God's plan and promise. Because for every time that we fall down in the pit of despair, He's right there ready to bring us back up. And as we live our lives, we need to pay attention to the things around us that we just do every day, probably for coping. These little skills are probably just to cope, to get by. But what we don't realize is the coping things are the things that make you good. That's what I didn't know. All this stuff that I did in school, all this stuff I did in my work, I thought I was just getting by. No. I was using things that were excellent, that were above average. And the moment someone pointed that out, changed my entire perspective. So that when I look at something, I know I look at it different. And I like that. I like being different. I like that I'm not just like everybody else that goes to a job from 9 to 5 and just clocks in and clocks out and just is a drone and they come home and whatever and they have supper. I'm not like that. It's not always easy. But I don't want to be like everybody else. I want to be different. God bless you always.